Welcome to the Athervane. This is Capcom. The year is 2017. The game we're looking at is Resident Evil 7. If you were looking for horror, there will be no need to look around any more corners. You found it here. I recommend going into this blind. So if you're one of the 2 people that haven't played it yet, go play it for yourself. If you have, or if you just don't care, let's go into the full review. Gameplay. In 2012, Resident Evil 6 gave us a non-stop, action-packed Hollywood blockbuster, along with some new wrestling moves to take out the more athletic zombies. Because when you think of Resident Evil, you think of The Rock and Brock Lesnar. It was easy to see that the Resident Evil franchise was heading towards a different direction. Despite how well sales were, the games that were coming out just didn't live up to the name. Mistake after mistake. How long was it going to take to get back on track? But luckily, Capcom has taken off the blindfold and can now see what us fans really want. And thankfully for us, RE7 moves the franchise forward as a survival horror. But instead of utilizing the traditional third-person view or side-shoulder view, Capcom flips the script and goes first-person. It's very clear to see why they went this route. VR headsets are here, and this was a great opportunity to break into the realm of virtual space, making this probably the first fully fleshed out VR horror game. With that said, this game plays like a true survival horror. You're wandering around creepy locations with the tension dialed all the way up. You won't see a bunch of zombies walking around, but it doesn't stop RE7 from feeling like a Resident Evil game. You have the traditional trademark elements that make their return, such as save rooms, a device to save your game, a health status meter, cleverly found on your wristwatch, boss battles, and puzzles. While not being so complex, I'm just glad to see that they're in the game. I give the gameplay an 8. Controls. The game's controls are easy to pick up and understand. Normally, for a AAA PC game, you will be forced to use an Xbox controller, which forces me to use a third-party program in order to use my ancient gamepad. But I was pleasantly surprised to see that Resident Evil 7 picked it up without any issues. And the controls make sense. I didn't feel the need to change anything. And I have to mention the quick turnaround. That's a nice inclusion. I give the controls a 10. Graphics. A new engine was created specifically for this game, called the RE engine, and the visuals do not disappoint. The only thing that sticks out for me are the facial expressions. They sometimes look slightly off, but in a strange way, they're a perfectly creepy fit. But I won't knock any points for that. There's a lot of detail in these environments you travel through. I give the graphics a 10. Music and sound. While walking through certain sections of the game, you hear these extra sounds in the background that help strengthen the tension. You always feel like there's something about to jump out at you at any given moment. The voice acting is on point for each character. Very solid voice acting.
What? Me? No. No.
All right. Now we got several calls about some missing persons lately.
You don't understand. I gotta get out of here.
And you have 81 music tracks for this game, most of which are ambient, not many that are too memorable, but while taking a break from the chaos, we are blessed with a new save room theme. It has sort of a dull, hopeless sound to it that I really enjoy listening to. I give the music and sounds an 8. Story. The story starts out very strong. The protagonist, Ethan, receives a video email from his wife that has been missing for 3 years. He travels down to Louisiana and searches for her, coming across an abandoned-looking mansion in the middle of nowhere. Ethan soon finds out that the house has residents, the Baker family, a deranged and fucked up bunch that have been up to some unusual pastimes. During your investigation, you slowly learn about what has happened in the rundown place through VHS tape flashbacks that you interact with, which most of the time are used to help you navigate future events. Without going into spoilers, fast forward to a section of the game where you reach a watery area and the story feels like it's at its weakest point. But moving forward towards the end of the game, you find a redeeming and satisfying conclusion. The story may not be totally original, as it feels like it has borrowed ideas from other franchises, but it doesn't matter because it works well and I enjoyed it. I give the story a 7. Replayability. This game has 2 endings. Both endings are affected by one decision you make 2/3 in the game, so it makes restarting a new game less of an appeal. But if you complete the game on easy or normal, you will unlock Madhouse. This mode offers a different experience by completely restructuring the item layout throughout the whole game, while having the enemies appear in different locations. The monsters will now also be much smarter and will aggressively hunt you down. Your health will take longer to regenerate, and saving will now work like in the old Resident Evil games. But instead of ink ribbons, you will be using cassette tapes to save. There's also unlockables, like infinity ammo and a powerful chainsaw. To further increase the replay value, there is DLC content that can be purchased, called Banned Footage, which includes 4 tapes that correlate to the main story. Nightmare places you in the basement and you have to find a way to survive till morning. Bedroom, where you have to figure out how to escape from a locked room while not giving any clues that you have been out of bed. 21 is a Saw movie-like gambling game. Daughters gives you a glimpse on how life was like before the Baker family turned. There are also 2 extra modes. Ethan Must Die is similar to the battle mode you typically find in the old games, but without a timer. Ethan will be dropped into a separate campaign using random events from the main story, with the difficulty increased considerably. Jack's 55th birthday, the objective here is to feed Jack while racing against the time. Now Capcom is also releasing more DLC in the future. Not a Hero DLC is set to release this spring, but even with all the DLCs, unlockables, separate VR experience, this isn't a game I will keep going back to play. The FPS view is really disorienting, and the gameplay is really linear, giving you the illusion of choice. I give the replayability a 6. Fun factor. When you first play the game, actually it's pretty amazing, especially if you're going in blind. It gives you the sense of wanting to know more. And as much as I hate paid DLC content, what has been added I find to be pretty fun and worth the price. I wish it was free, but I don't think they're asking for too much. But this is one of those games that is much more fun to play with an audience or a friend. There's much more to get out of it that way. I rate the fun factor a 7. Fear scale. I haven't been scared of a Resident Evil game in a long time. This game was actually scary. In the beginning of the game, where you're just walking around the house during daylight hours, it had me on edge. And when you meet the Baker family, they are fucking terrifying. This game builds up a lot of tension and will hit you with a good amount of jump scares. But not every part was scary. One enemy in particular I felt could have been improved in so many ways. I won't go into it, but the first enemy you encounter that isn't a baker could have been done much better. On the fear scale, I give this game an 8. Final thoughts. There's a few cons to this game. The story is pretty linear, with no real branching paths to take, and I'm not a fan of the sticking blood splatter. You can lower the amount of blood splatter on screen, but you can't turn it off, and I have to bring back the first-person view. Unfortunately, I am one of those people that will sometimes feel nausea playing an FPS game, so I strongly prefer the third-person view. Hell, I'll even take the side shoulder view, as long as the character isn't too close to the screen. Like I mentioned before, I get why they went to the first-person route because of the VR aspect, but I hope Capcom doesn't make all future Resident Evil games in the FPS format. This would hurt my soul. During VR gameplay, you see Ethan's arms separated from his body. I don't understand why Capcom didn't attach a body to these arms. It's a pretty big oversight, and it breaks the immersion. As far as the pros go, I'm happy to see that Capcom is taking the Resident Evil franchise more serious. You have a strong introduction that pulls you in, the story setting is perfect, there is a lot of tension during gameplay to keep you on edge, there's a strong essence of a true Resident Evil game, with the save rooms, backtracking, boss battles, score, sounds, puzzles, and I actually felt like I was inside of a horror movie. I give Resident Evil 7 an overall score 8 out of 10. This game is worth adding to your Resident Evil collection. I wouldn't call it the best, but it's definitely high on my list. If you like the video, subscribe for more content. And don't forget to add my social medias. There's much more coming down the pipe.